Question number 1, a brief summary of what we did. This particular vlog is my second vlog. It's for the rehearsal process of the pantomime. In this process I spent a lot of time organising the tech aspects of the performance, such as organising costumes onto rails, finding hangers and labelling things, trying to find costumes for every different character. We spent a lot of time doing that as a group as well. We all worked as a group quite well to put things together and made checklists to make sure we had everything, which is still in progress at the moment. I also repaired a wedding dress for the walk down scene right at the end, which had to be quite grand so it couldn't be broken, and sewed gold embellishments on the front of it. I also repaired a rat costume balaclava that was broken. In terms of rehearsal, Cast 1 went through Act 1 earlier in the week, and I was there helping with the ensemble, singing, making the voices louder and things like that. Otherwise I was off stage taking notes and going over my lines. Then in the afternoon, Cast 2 got to run Scene 3, and that's the kitchen scene, so that was very high energy and very tiring. Later in the week we managed to get through the beginning of Act 2, and the dancers went through the sailor medley and the sailor dancers and things like that, and we all sorted out our entrances and exits and our movements on stage for Scene 8, which is on the boat, which is also a very high energy scene, and that took a lot out of us. Later in the week we did a full run through of the entire play. Cast 1 did Act 1 and Cast 2 did Act 2. Question number 2, discuss what progress you made. In these last few weeks I think I've made a lot of progress with my energy and confidence on stage. I was told by my tutors that my energy was good, which I was happy about. We've managed to up the pace in the scenes that were becoming a bit slow through some of the methods that our tutors and our directors gave us. Made a lot of progress with speeding everything up, making everything more exciting, keeping the pace up. People are a lot quicker with their lines now, including me. I was a bit slow on some of my cues, especially towards the end of Scene 3 because it's one of the longer scenes. I really feel like I've made a lot of progress in that scene. It's generally very tiring, which shows how much energy I've been putting into it. I've also made a lot of progress with Scene 8, which also has to be really, really fast paced. It's one of the important comedy scenes, and I feel a lot more confident in that scene now. I know my movement better. I'm a lot more relaxed and open and confident with my body language, and I'm just a lot more confident within the scene altogether, and I think that shows, and I think as a group we're all doing a lot better in those specific scenes, and that's the main progress that I've made recently. Question number 3, what was the effect of what you did? I think some of the things that we practiced had a really good effect actually. When the pace in Scene 3 was getting too slow, it was becoming boring. We were told by our tutors and our directors to try out a method of speeding it up by running through the scene as if we were performing it super speed, and people ran on and said their lines really quickly, or even just made noise at each other, but everybody could communicate what exactly they were trying to say, and it really quickened the pace of the scene, and people had to react really quickly, such split-second reactions, and it taught us how quick something should be. You can actually make it so fast paced and it still be understandable, and yet it's much more exciting, especially for a child audience, which we are performing to very soon. I think that worked really well. We've made a lot of progress with keeping the pace up. And I think the effect is that it makes it all a lot more entertaining, and it's not so boring anymore. There aren't moments where the pace drops as much and it becomes dull. And I think it's really useful. We also, when we ran through Act 2, got a lot of advice about our reactions, and I think the effect of using our reactions in such an obvious, over-exaggerated way as we were told to do has the effect of making the whole scene a lot more comedic, and it should be really, really funny, especially to a lot of children in the audience. So I think that had a really good effect as well. I think that was really useful. I think the run through we did on the last day was also very important. It highlighted some parts that we really need to improve on. These tended to be musical numbers, such as One Day More, which we managed to go over just in the last half hour where we were there. And I think this had a lot of effect on the progress that we were making, because we'd slipped slightly in that musical number, and we weren't as rehearsed as we should have been. And that extra rehearsal, that extra practice was really useful and had the effect of sort of pulling everybody together, and we began to perform again more as a team, and I think that was really effective. Question number 4. Evaluate how effective the work completed was and say why it worked well or less well. I think the work we completed was generally quite effective. I suppose time could have been managed better because everything was rather chaotic, especially when we were organising the tech. But even in rehearsals where there are momentary lapses in focus, the work we did complete was quite effective, and I think that shows in the audience's reaction. For example, with the comedy parts in scene 8, when we are repeating what Captain Cuttle says, we're repeating everything he says, and he's getting really upset about it, and we were told to not just repeat exactly what he says, but also mimic his exact tone and copy it almost exactly as much as you can to mimic his emotion. So when he's getting really upset and saying, "I hate you," we all do that as well and start crying as well, and it's very effective. I think that's shown by the laughs that we get from the audience. I think that's getting to be a very entertaining part of the show. So I think the work we've done there is very effective. I also think the work we've done on the songs is very effective. I think they've needed a lot of practicing, especially when we worked on Get Happy, because we had some issues with the ensemble and the dancers not looking happy enough, which we needed to alter. And the chorus, which I'm in, wasn't quite strong enough, so we needed to get more people and some stronger voices and work as hard as we could to get the chorus as loud as possible to make it a really showy and effective open number. And I think the work that we did on that number was really good and really effective, because it has improved a lot recently, and I think that's shown by the amount of energy that we're putting into our musical numbers, things like that. I feel that just working in a team for so long has had a really good effect on the way we work. We've started working more as a unit, more as a group, less as individuals, and we're all bouncing off each other and working quite well together, and I think that's had a really good effect on the way we rehearse. Question 5. Discuss strengths and weaknesses. In these last few weeks, I think one of my strengths has been the fact that my confidence has built up a lot more. So that now my presence on stage is very confident, and I feel like that's become one of my strengths recently. I also think that my strength lies in the fact that keep some of the pace up within the piece. I was told by my tutors that my contribution to the scene was to keep the pace up, and that I was doing that quite well, which I was very happy about because that's what I'm aiming to do. I think personally, one of my strengths is my professionalism, because I tend to not chat so much between moments where the teachers are talking, just because I'm quite focused on what we're doing and I want to get the work done. However, I do feel that one of my weaknesses over the last few weeks has been the musical numbers, especially One Day More, which I'm somewhat of a lead in at some points. I suppose I've just not been practicing it as much as I should have been, and I need to up my game there because it's not good enough. At one point, I didn't come in on time for my first line because I'd miscounted the beats at the beginning. So I really, really, really need to make sure that doesn't happen on the actual night because that would throw everybody else off count. So I've got a lot of people relying on me to get that right. I think I could say that another one of my strengths is the amount of energy I put in on stage. I tend to be very tired after some of these scenes, and it just shows how much energy I'm putting into things. Some of it's very draining because I absolutely put my all into all the physical parts of the scenes. For example, when we are sinking the ship in scene 8, and everybody's got to move from side to side as if they're on a boat that's rocking, and it's a very physical action, and your arms are up in the air and you're running from side to side for the entire unit of that scene. And I feel like that's one of my strengths actually, because I feel like I'm putting in the most effort I possibly can for those sorts of movements. And after I was advised by my directors and my tutors, I feel like I took direction quite well. So that's something I'm quite proud of. However, in the last week, I have been less fluid than usual. That's a weakness of mine. I've started almost not necessarily forgetting a line, but I do forget the end of my entrance sometimes, where once the audience respond to me, I have to say "wicked," and twice last week I forgot to say it. So that's been noted down in my script that I absolutely must not forget that, because it's almost Idle Jack's signature when he comes on. So I can't forget that. That's been a weakness of mine recently. I think I've just been slightly distracted and caught up with my nerves on stage, and that made me forget a few things. So hopefully I need to improve on those, and that should be amended by the time we get to the final performance.